day. I'm gonna make.
हेलो फ्रेंड्स, मेरा नाम है विशेष गोयल और आप देख रहे हैं मेरा चैनल विकी वर्ल्ड। तो आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है, वेलकम बैक। तो आज मैं आपके पास लेकर आया हूँ क्लास 12 के इंडियन इकोनॉमिक्स के चैप्टर 3 लिबरलाइजेशन, प्राइवेटाइजेशन, ग्लोबलाइजेशन एंड अप्रेजल की नोट्स की वीडियो। आज मैं आपको इसके कंप्लीट नोट्स देने वाला हूँ, तो वीडियो को भी इसे लाइक शेयर कर दो। मैं आप जल्दी से बिना टाइम वेस्ट जल्दी से शुरू करता हूँ। तो इसमें सबसे पहले है रीजंस बिहाइंड इंट्रोड्यूसिंग इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स। इंडिया मेट विद एन इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस इन 1991. First, the government was not able to generate sufficient revenues from taxation and PSUs. Second, the government had to spend more to meet challenges like unemployment, poverty, rising population, etc. It leads to high fiscal deficit. Third, at times our foreign exchange was spent on meeting consumption needs. Fourth, foreign exchange reserves declined to a level that was not adequate to finance imports for more than 2 weeks. Fifth, there was no sufficient foreign exchange to pay the interest on international borrowings. Sixth, prices of essential goods increased. India approached World Bank and IMF to avail a loan of $7 billion to manage the crisis. These international agencies expected India to liberalize and open up the economy in order to avail the loan. As a result, India agreed and announced the new economic policy in 1991. The NEP, that is New Economic Policy, consisted of wide variety of economic reforms. The thrust of the policies was towards creating a more competitive environment in the economy and removing the barriers to entry and growth of the firms. The set of policies can be classified into two groups. First, stabilization measures. These are the short-term measures intended to correct the balance of payment position and to bring inflation under control. In simple words, stabilization measures aimed at maintaining sufficient foreign exchange reserves and keeping the rising prices under control. Second, structural reform policies. These are the long-term measures aimed at improving the efficiency of the economy and increasing its international competitiveness by removing the rigidities in various segments of the Indian economy. These included liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So first of all, let us talk about liberalization. It means removal of restrictions and government control from private sector. It includes the following reforms: industrial sector reform, second, financial sector reforms, third, tax reforms, fourth, foreign exchange reforms, and fifth, trade and investment policy reforms. So the first one is industrial sector reforms. Industrial licensing was abolished for almost all products except few products like alcohol, cigarettes, hazardous chemicals, electronics, drugs, industrial explosive, and aerospace. Second, decrease in role of public sector. The only industries reserved for public sector now were railway, atomic energy, defense equipments. Third, many goods which were reserved for small scale industries were now being de-reserved. Fourth, in many industries the market has been allowed to determine the prices. The MRTP Act, which restricted large companies to expand or to make any new establishments, was eliminated as now lesser approvals were required. Financial sector reforms. First, the role of RBI was reduced from regulator to facilitator of the financial sector. Now, the financial sectors may be allowed to take decisions on various matters like fixing the interest rates without consulting RBI. Second, the reform policies allowed the establishment of private sector banks, Indian as well as foreign banks. This increased competition and decreased the interest rates. Third, banks were given freedom to set up new branches without the approval of RBI. Fourth, banks were also allowed to generate resources from India as well as from abroad. Fifth, the foreign investment limit in the banks was raised to around 51%. Foreign institutional investors were allowed to invest in Indian financial markets. The third is tax reforms. Revenue and expenditure policy of the government is known as fiscal policy. First, reduction in taxes. Before 1991, direct and indirect taxes were high. It was felt that high tax rates had increased tax evasion. So, moderate rate of income tax and corporate tax were implemented to encourage savings and disclosure of income. Second, simplification. Government simplified the process of tax system. For example, the GST Act 2016 had been recently passed to simplify and introduce a unified indirect tax system in India. The fourth one is foreign exchange reforms. First, in order to overcome the BOP crisis, that is balance of payment, the Indian rupee was devalued against foreign currency. Devaluation of domestic currency means reduction in the value of domestic currency by the government. Devaluation led to an increase in exports. Thus, it increased the inflow of foreign exchange. Second point, foreign exchange deregulations. Foreign exchange rate means price of one currency in terms of another currency. The government allowed Indian rupee to be free from its control in foreign exchange market. Now the exchange rates are determined in the foreign exchange market through the market forces of demand and supply of foreign exchange. However, RBI may intervene to control. Fifth is trade and investment policy reforms. First, removal of quantitative restrictions on imports and exports. These policies reduced efficiencies and competitiveness of domestic industries, which led to slow growth of manufacturing sector. Second, the import licensing was also abolished, means removed, except hazardous and environmental sensitive industries. Third, export duties were removed to increase the competitive position of Indian goods in the international market. Import duties were also removed to encourage international competition. Objectives of liberalization: to increase the international competitiveness, to increase foreign investment and technology in the economy, to promote efficiencies of local industries, and to encourage adaptation of modern technologies. So now let us talk about privatization. It means giving greater role to the private sector in the economic activity of a country and reduce the role of public sector. It means shedding of the ownership or management of a government owned enterprise. It can be done in two ways. First, transfer of ownership and management of PSU from the government to the private sector. Second, selling part of PSU to public, which is disinvestment. So disinvestment is privatization of PSU by selling off a part of equity of PSU to the public, and this is known as disinvestment. Purpose: it improves financial discipline of the government and facilitate modernization. Advantage: it improves the performance of PSU and induce the inflow of foreign direct investment. Improving the efficiency of PSUs. The government has also made attempts to improve the efficiency of PSU by giving them autonomy in taking managerial decisions. For instance, some PSUs have been granted special status like Maharatnas, Navaratnas and Mini Ratnas. Maharatnas: IOCL, Indian Oil Corporation Limited; SAIL, Steel Authority of India Limited; Navratnas, HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited; MTNL, Mahanagar Telephone Nigam Limited; Mini Ratnas, BSNL, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited; AAI, Airport Authority of India; IRCTC, Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation Limited. So now let us talk about globalization. It means integrating our national economy with the world economy by removing barriers on international trade. Globalization is a complex procedure. It aimed at transforming the world towards greater interdependence and integration. It involves creation of networks and activities which surpass economic, social or geographical boundaries. Aims at creating a borderless world. Positive effects: greater access to global market, higher technology, increased possibility of large industries of developing countries to become important players in the international arena. Negative effects: globalization is a strategy of the developed countries to expand their markets in other countries. This reduces welfare and identity of the people belonging to poor countries. This raises the disparities between nations and people. It had increased the income and quality of consumption of only high income groups because growth is concentrated in selected areas like telecommunication, IT, finance, travel, real estate, etc. This ignored the vital sectors like agriculture and industry. Next topic: outsourcing. It is one of the most important features of a business. It refers to contracting out some of its activities to a third party which were earlier performed by the organization. A company hires regular services from external sources, mostly from other countries. India has become a favorite destination of outsourcing for a lot of MNCs because low wage rate, growth of IT sector, availability of skilled manpower. Outsourcing services provided by India are record keeping, accountancy, banking services, film editing, teaching, etc. World Trade Organization, WTO. The WTO was founded in 1995 as a successor organization to the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, GATT. GATT was established in 1948 with 23 countries as a global trade organization to administer all multilateral trade agreements by providing equal opportunities to all countries in the international market for trading purposes. Objectives of WTO: to enlarge production and service, to ensure optimum utilization of world resources, to protect the environment. Role of WTO. WTO establishes a rule-based trading system in which nations can't place arbitrary, that is illogical restrictions. WTO facilitated international trade through removal of tariff and non-tariff barriers and greater market access to all member countries. WTO has 164 member countries and all the members are required to abide by the laws and policies of WTO. India has been an active member of WTO and has always been in the forefront of framing fair global trade practices in advocating the interests of developing world. Performance of the Indian economy during economic reforms. First, effect of growth and employment. In economics, the growth of economy is measured by the gross domestic product. The growth of GDP increased from 5.6% during 1980 to 91 to 8.2% during 2007 to 12. GDP growth has increased in the reform period. It has not generated sufficient employment opportunities in the country. Second, effects on growth of agriculture. A. Fall in public investment in agriculture sector. Public investment in an agriculture sector, especially in infrastructure, which includes irrigation, power, roads, etc., has fallen in the reform periods. B. Removal of fertilizer subsidy. The removal of fertilizer subsidy has led to increase in the cost of production, which adversely affected small and marginal farmers. C. Increased international competition. Due to reduction in import duties on agricultural products, Indian farmers faced international competition. D. Export-oriented policy on agriculture. There has been a shift from production for the domestic market towards the export market, focusing on cash crops in lieu of production of food grains. This puts pressure on the prices of food grains. Third, effects on industrial growth. Pehla point, decreasing demand of industrial products. A. Availability of cheaper imports. Globalization has created conditions for the free movement of goods and services from foreign countries. Cheaper imports have replaced the demand for domestic goods. Domestic manufacturers are facing competition from imports. Thus, globalization adversely affected the local industries and employment opportunities in developing countries, including India. B. Lower investment. The infrastructure facilities, including power supply, have remained inadequate due to lack of investment. Second, non-access to developed countries market. A developing country like India still does not have access to developed countries market because of high non-tariff barriers. Fourth point, effect on growth in the service sector. Industrial sector reported fluctuation. The growth of the service sector has gone up. This indicates that this growth is mainly driven by growth in the service sector. In 2014 to 15, service sector witnessed the highest ever growth of 10.3%. Fifth, effect on foreign investment and foreign exchange reserve. The foreign investment include first, foreign direct investment, and second, foreign institutional investment. FDI has increased for US dollar 100 million in 1990 to 91 to US dollar 36 billion in 2016 to 17. There has been an increase in foreign exchange reserves from about US dollar 6 billion in 1990 to 91 to US dollars 321 billion in 2014-15. India is one of the largest foreign exchange reserve holder in the world. Sixth, disinvestment. Every year, the government fixes a target for disinvestment of PSUs. For instance, in 1991 to 92, it was targeted to mobilize rupees 2,500 crore through disinvestment. The government was able to mobilize rupees 3,040 crore, more than the target. In the 2014 to 15, the target was about 56,000 crores, whereas achievement was about 34,500 crores. Critical evaluation. Critics point out that the assets of PSUs have been undervalued and sold to the private sector. This means that there has been substantial loss to the government. Effects on price level. The rising prices have been kept under control. Eighth, reforms and fiscal policies. Economic reforms have placed limits on the growth of public expenditure, especially in social sectors. The tax reductions in the reform period aimed at yielding larger revenues and curb tax evasion have not resulted in increase in tax revenue for the government. The reform policies involving tariff reduction have curtailed the scope for raising revenue through custom duties. In order to attract foreign investment, tax incentives were provided to foreign investors, which reduced the scope for raising tax revenue. Ninth is rise in exports. Next topic, demonetization. Demonetization was a new initiative taken by the Government of India on 8 November 2016 to tackle the problem of corruption, black money, terrorism, and circulation of fake money in the economy. Old currency notes of rupees 500 and 1000 rupees were no longer a legal tender. New currency notes in the denomination of rupees 500 and rupees 2000 were launched. The move received both appreciation as well as criticism. There were long queues outside the banks and ATM booths. The shortage of currency in circulation had an adverse impact on the economic activities. Positive impacts. It improved tax compliance as a large number of people were brought in the tax ambit. The savings of an individual was channelized into financial system. As a result, banks have more resources at their disposal which can be used to provide more loans at lower interest rates, shifting transactions out of the cash economy into the formal payment system. दोस्तों अगर आपको ये वीडियो यूज़फुल लगती है, नोट्स आपको पसंद आते हैं तो प्लीज़ इतनी मेहनत के लिए एक लाइक ज़रूर कर दीजिएगा, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर कर दीजिए। अब बात करते हैं गुड्स एंड सर्विस टैक्स जीएसटी की। द पार्लियामेंट पास्ड अ लॉ गुड्स एंड सर्विस टैक्स एक्ट 2016 टू सिंप्लीफाई एंड इंट्रोड्यूस अ यूनिफाइड इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स सिस्टम इन इंडिया। दिस लॉ केम इनटू इफेक्ट फ्रॉम 1 July 2017. Aim to generate additional revenue for the government, to reduce tax evasion, to create one nation, one tax and one market. Features. Goods and service tax is the single comprehensive indirect tax on supply of goods and service right from the manufacturer or service provider to the consumer. GST is applicable throughout the country with one rate for one type of goods and services. Under GST, there are 5 standard rates applied, that is 0%, 5%, 12%, 18% and 28% of supply of all goods and services across the country. GST has amalgamated a large number of central and state taxes and cess. It has replaced a large number of taxes on goods and services levied on production or sale of goods or provision of services. Some of the major tax levied by the central government which have been subsumed in the GST are Central Excise Duty, Service Tax, Central Sales Tax, cess like KKC, Krishi Kalyan cess and SBC, Swachh Bharat cess. The major state taxes or cesses which have been subsumed in GST are VAT, Sales Tax, Entertainment Tax, Luxury Tax, Entry Tax, Gambling Tax, etc. 5 petroleum products have been kept out of GST for the long time, but with the passage of time, they will get subsumed in GST. Benefits of GST. First, it has facilitated the freedom of movement of goods and services and created a common market. Second, it has reduced the cost of business transactions. Third, it also results in higher economic growth as GDP is expected to rise about 2%. Fourth, tax procedure will be easier as all tax payment related services like registration, returns and payments are available online. And fifth, higher transparency in taxation system. सो दोस्तों यहाँ पे नोट्स खत्म होते हैं। इतनी मेहनत करी है, प्लीज़ एक लाइक ज़रूर कर दीजिएगा, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दो, कुछ भी कमेंट हो नीचे कर देना, बेल आइकन को भी दबा देना और इसे दोस्तों के साथ शेयर करो। मैं मिलता हूँ आपके साथ अगली वीडियो में, तब तक ले टाटा बाय बाय एंड थैंक यू। जय हिंद।